proud of this, but I chose the latter, all right? I was like, look, I'm 53, I moved twice, I have an AARP card, I'm the fucking victim here. So I stiffen up the shoulder, and then immediately I'm thinking like, okay, this is gonna get crazy. I have never done this with a female before. This is in public, people are gonna see this shit, what's gonna happen, right? But I'm not gonna lie to you, she started closing in, she was moving, so I like leaned in, like I really got my legs underneath me, because she was built like a janitor, and I was not gonna get spun around. I wasn't getting spun around, not having that on the fucking logbook, right? So I leaned into this shit, and at the last second, she turned her shoulder, and we just missed shoulders, but our forearms still slapped together with significant enough force that it warranted a turnaround. Okay? Now, I know most of you guys drive, so I will break down pedestrian etiquette really quickly in New York City. This is the deal. If you're walking down the street in New York, right? You're walking, and if you just sort of brush sleeves with somebody, you don't have to stop. You can just look over your shoulder. Hey, sorry, man. My bad. Have a nice day, right? Then there's the next level. Moves up a little bit. You're walking down the street, you actually bump into somebody, you actually have to turn around. Sorry, didn't see you. Little dojo bow. My bad. Whatever you have to do, my sensei, to keep it from escalating. And then there's the last one. You're just walking down the street and you hit so fucking hard, you gotta turn around and go like old school Dustin Hoffman, De Niro, like, hey, I'm fucking walking here, huh? I fucking moved twice, you didn't see that? You tripped in 2 times, huh? So I turn around to have this confrontation. And let me tell you something, she never looked back. And I'm not gonna lie to you, that bugged me. That bugged me for like 3 days. 3 days, I'm just walking around New York, just fucking goddamn fucking bullshit. There's no fucking way you didn't do that on purpose. Who does that? Who drifts, you know? And I'm feeling this anger. It's just burning me up, and I know eventually it's gonna settle in my chest, and then one more time it's gonna be, I'm sorry, Dada, I'm sorry. It's like, I can't do this. I can't do this to my daughter, I can't do this to my kids. So I started reading up on anger. Like how to let go of shit, I think is what I Googled. And I found empathy. If you have empathy for somebody, you put yourself in their shoes, you can just, figure out where they're coming from, where you're coming from, you can meet in the middle. So I said, all right, here we go. Let me put myself in her shoes. What would cause somebody to accidentally drift into your lane twice? So I just started throwing shit on the wall. Here we go. Did she have a club foot? No. Did she just have a stroke? Did she have Bell's palsy of her left side? Was she a mummy? Did she have a wooden leg? Is she one of those, those fucking diagonal walkers? You get behind them at the airport, they're walking too slow, you try to go around to the right, they start dragging their suitcase over there, you go over to the left, they're coming back this way, it's like they just got off a ship, and everything was just like, no, cut! Right? And I'm still mad. I'm still fucking mad. So I said, I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck. Lied to myself, said I didn't give a fuck, So then I ended up going home. And I'm home and I'm washing the dishes, which is a very Zen-like thing to do. It's like a week later, you wash dishes, you're not thinking of anything. Your brain is empty. And I'm washing the dishes, and then all of a sudden, the answer just came to me. It just floated into my head. And I just looked up, I was like, oh my God. I know why she did it. I know why she bumped into me. She bumped into me because she's a lesbian. I mean, it was right there. I was like looking 9 miles down the street, looking under shrubs. It was right in front of my face. She did it because she's a lesbian. All right, so judging by most of your silence, I will do this math for you. Come on. Let's have a little empathy here. Put yourself in a lesbian's shoes. All right? Who do lesbians date? Women. Who do they move in with? Women. Who do they get in relationships with? Women. Who do they eventually marry? Women. And I was thinking like, oh my God, I did that. I know what the fuck that's like. I know what it's like to live with one of those fucking things. I know exactly what that's, it's hopeless. Trying to make them happy. Hey, I bought you the shiny thing. Did I do it right? Huh? Trying to get them to take responsibility for their actions. Not gonna happen. The best you're gonna get is I'm sorry, but. I know what it's like to be winning a fucking argument. You're winning, and then they turn it around. They're crying, you're apologizing. You're thinking, what the fuck just happened? How am I losing this shit? I had you on the ropes. You feel so dumb, you gotta go for a walk, and you're just thinking, how did I lose again? How did I lose again? and then you figure it out, it makes you feel stupid, and then you see some bald idiot with a giant orange mustache, and you're like, you know what? Why don't you take some of that shit? You take some of that fucking anger. Yeah. I feel so stupid that I got mad at that woman. I shouldn't have got mad at her. I should have bought her a beer. And just listen to her troubles and had empathy and be like, yeah, it's not your fault. You married a woman. I did it too. You're not going to win. There's no winning this. Yeah. I'm telling you, if you don't believe me, do a little people watching. Take a look at the look on the average lesbian's face. All right? I don't mean a lesbian in her 20s. She's got a whole life ahead of her. She's got Christmas in her eyes, right? I mean a lesbian about 35, 36, starting to settle into what the deal's gonna be, right? And then look across the bar, find a married guy about the same age. Look at the look on his face. Look at the look on her face. Go back to his face. It's the same fucking look. Yeah. And then look at gay guys. Some of the happiest people I've ever met in my life. They're almost too happy. It's like, hey, how's it going? They're like, hi! Almost floating across the room with that lack of estrogen just yanking down your fucking dreams. Now look, it might be a front. I'm not saying all gay guys are just blissfully happy, but it's looking like a pretty good time to me. Dude, they're some of the most positive people I've ever met in my life. Any idea you have, they support it. They're just like, yes, yes, queen, yes, you're fierce, you can do it. Lesbians are up at the bar like a bunch of jaded cops. That's all fucking bullshit. What the fuck was I thinking? U-hauling after 10 days, moving in. What the fuck was I thinking? She's crazy. No, I'm telling you, I think married men and lesbians need to start hanging out more. And we gotta put our heads together and try to solve our common problem, the women in our lives, so we can somehow attain the perceived happiness of the average gay dude out there. Yeah. So, if you believe in that shit, I'll give you some advice. If you're gonna expand your fucking world of friends, I'll give you some advice. You can't just hang out with any lesbian. All right? You gotta make sure you're hanging out with the dude in the relationship, right? And by dude, I'm not saying she's manly, I'm not being ignorant. By dude, I just mean she's the one that gets blamed for most of the shit, right? Because no relationship is balanced. Somebody is getting away with more. Somebody's drafting behind the other. It's like a bike race. Somebody else is taking the fucking weather in the face. Right? Somebody else is fucking right behind. Oh yeah, it really is wet. Just kind of hiding under your fucking poncho. Male, female, 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 they, whatever the fuck it is you're into. Every relationship, there's the person that does the dishes and the person that lets them soak, right? They don't let them soak. They know you're gonna do them. They're just waiting you out. And after a while, you can't fucking take it anymore. They just sit there. You gotta go out and you start doing it. And then what do? They sit in the other room and they wait like they don't know what you're doing. And they wait till they hear pots and pans. And that's when the show starts. That's when they come running in like, what? Oh, I was gonna do those. What? And you're like, no, you weren't. They've been sitting there for 8 hours. I got my hands in room temperature waters with scrambled eggs floating around. Don't gaslight me. You're a fucking animal. You were raised by animals. Get out of my sight. Don't yell at me. Right? Yes. Every relationship has the person that will take the trash bag out of the trash barrel and do a little we're good, tie it off, and then leave it slumped against the counter like it took two behind the ear and a mob hit. And then there's the person that actually picks it up and takes it out to the curb at night and puts it in the trash can, right? My wife's hilarious, man. I love her, but she's got some of the worst excuses ever. I'm like, why don't you ever take out the trash? She goes, I would, I'm just afraid of coyotes. I'm afraid of the coyotes. It's like, so am I. So am I. They're rabid dogs. They hunt in packs of 2s and 3s. You don't do it because you don't want to do it because you know I'm going to do it. Just get the fuck away from me, please. No, I'm telling you. So, anyway, I know I said a lot of divisive shit here tonight. So before I get out of here, I want to... Let's bring the room together. It's a very divisive time. Everyone wants to feel safe. Let's bring and do a nice, normal, mainstream topic so everybody can drive home happy, no fights, all right? Sound good? All right, great. Let's talk abortion. There you go. Everybody has an opinion. It's my body, it's my right. Well, then fucking drive to Arkansas, bitch. Right? Everybody has an opinion. As do I. And I apologize that you're going to have to listen to mine. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I have a really weird take on abortion. I'm going to tell you that right from the get-go, okay? I'm 100% pro-choice. Always have been. Ladies, I said it was weird. For the love of God, stop getting in the trunk of the car. Just wait to the end. You're supposed to vet me first. Woo! Fucking feed out the sunroof. I said I had a weird take. Pro-choice always made sense to me because I don't like people telling me what to do. And I was just like, it's your body. Who the fuck am I to tell you what to do with your body? So that always made sense. All right? However, I still think you're killing a baby. See? That's where it gets weird. Like, I sit on the fence and the whole thing makes sense to me. Whatever anybody's saying, like, don't tell me what to do. It's my body, my choice. That's right, man. She's right. Leave her the hell alone. Oh, you're killing a baby. Well, I mean, there is that. You know? I mean, you know, if we're going to be honest, that is the whole purpose of the procedure. You know, you're not going in there because you got an earache. You're going in there because you're like, I got a baby in me, get the fuck out of here. Right? You walk in with a baby, you come out without one. What happened to the baby, right? Something fucking happened. So, pro-choice people are like, well, it's not a life yet. It's not a baby yet. If you do, I don't know what they say, before you do it the first Thursday or the last Tuesday and you spin around one time, they dance between the raindrops. It's not a baby yet. That's what they say, which may or may not be true. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I'll tell you, my gut tells me that doesn't make sense. It's not a baby yet. That would be like if I was making a cake and I poured some batter in a pan and I put it in the oven, and then 5 minutes later you came by and you grabbed the pan, you threw it across the floor, and I went, what the fuck? You just ruined my birthday cake. And then you were like, well, that wasn't a cake yet. It's like, well, it would have been. If you didn't do what you just did, there would have been a cake in 50 minutes. Something happened to that cake, you cake murdering son of a bitch. Right? Now, before all you pro-life people get excited, I think it's great you're killing your babies. It's fantastic. Help Mother Nature out. There's too many of us. It's been 130 degrees out. Animals are going extinct. There's plastic in the fucking ocean. We don't need any more fucking people. And especially, you know, if you're honest with yourself, have you done anything great with your life? Is the person you're banging doing anything great? The answer to both of those questions is no. What are the odds you're gonna make a great person? I'm not saying you're gonna make a bad person, you're just gonna make another person that doesn't go when the light turns green because they're staring at their fucking phone. All right, I'm out of time. You guys were awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hello. After years of marriage, I thought I knew my wife. Then I glimpsed her phone for 1 second at a red light. 11 words shattered my world. Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about your body. But Dominic wasn't alone. My investigation revealed a shocking truth that would destroy not just my marriage, but 3 other men's lives. My name is Tyler Brennan. I'm 44 years old. And until recently, I thought I had a pretty decent life. A successful career, a nice house in the suburbs of Portland, and a wife I'd been married to for 15 years, who I believed loved me as much as I loved her. Heather and I met in our late 20s, built a life together, weathered the usual storms that come with any long-term relationship. We weren't perfect. Who is? But I genuinely thought we were solid. I adored everything about my wife. Then one evening, as she sat in the driver's seat, she unintentionally shattered the illusion. It happened so fast, so absurdly, that for a moment I thought I was imagining things. We were headed home from dinner with friends. I was in the passenger seat, adjusting the air conditioning while Heather drove. Her attention divided between the road and her phone at red lights. The evening was warm, the kind that makes you roll down the windows and breathe in the promise of summer. I remember thinking how content I felt. Full stomach, good company, my wife humming along to some pop song on the radio. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced down and I caught a flash of something. Not quite a smile. More like private satisfaction crossing her face. At the next light, she picked up the phone, thumbs quickly tapping out a response. "Who's blowing up your phone?" I asked, more curious than suspicious. "Just work stuff," she replied, placing the phone face down on her lap. The light turned green. As she accelerated, the phone slid slightly. That's when it happened. A rookie mistake. Her thumb bumped the screen as she tried to catch it, and suddenly the messages were open, visible for that brief, world-altering moment. A name I didn't recognize. Dominic. A message that punched the air from my lungs. "Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about your body." The car swerved slightly as she hurriedly flipped the phone over, but it was too late. Seen it. Those 11 words that rewrote 15 years of marriage. "Who's Dominic?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady despite the sudden thundering in my chest. Heather's reaction told me everything. The momentary wide-eyed panic, quickly masked by irritation. "Just a colleague," she said with forced casualness. "He's a bit of an office flirt. Harmless." "Harmless," I repeated, the word tasting like metal in my mouth. "Does your harmless colleague usually talk about your body like that?" Her laugh was sharp, defensive. "Oh my God, Tyler. It's nothing. You're being ridiculous." But her knuckles were white on the steering wheel, and she wouldn't look at me. In that moment, something broke between us, a trust one hadn't even realized was fragile. And with sickening clarity, I understood that nothing would ever be the same again. The rest of the drive home felt like being underwater. Sounds muffled, movement slowed, my thoughts struggling to break the surface. I stared out the window, watching suburban houses blur by, each one harboring its own secrets behind neatly trimmed hedges and drawn curtains. When we pulled into our driveway, Heather killed the engine and turned to me with a practiced smile. "Ready for that nightcap?" she asked, as if the last 15 minutes hadn't happened. I didn't answer. Instead, I picked up her phone from where it lay between us. "Tyler." She lunged for it, but I was already out of the car, standing in our driveway with her unlocked phone in my hand. The messages were right there. Dozens of them, not just from that day but from weeks, maybe months. Each one more explicit than the last. "Can't wait to see you again. Wear that red thing I like. Last meeting ran late, can we push it back? Need at least 2 hours with you. Still tasting you." My stomach churned. I looked up to see Heather standing by the car. Her face a mask of cold fury rather than shame. "Give me my phone." Her voice was low, controlled. "How long?" I asked. "This is ridiculous. You're invading my privacy over nothing." I laughed, a hollow, unfamiliar sound. "Nothing. You call this nothing?" I held up the phone, its screen illuminating the growing darkness between us. "It's just flirting." "God, Tyler, when did you become so insecure?" Her dismissal hit like a physical blow. Not just the lie but the contempt behind it. "Stop lying to me," I was shouting now, not caring if the neighbors heard. "I can read, Heather. This isn't just flirting. You're sleeping with him." Something shifted in her expression then, calculation replacing defiance. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Fine. Happened once. Mistake. I was going to end it." The ease of the lie was almost impressive, but I'd already scrolled further back, seeing the pattern. The late nights at work, the weekend seminars. I scrolled to another message. "What about the same hotel as last time?" Tuesday was perfect. Her eyes narrowed. "You know what? I don't need this." She snatched the phone from my hand, her wedding ring catching the porch light. "I'm going inside. When you're ready to talk like an adult instead of having a tantrum in the driveway, let me know." She walked away, her heels clicking on the concrete with metronomic precision. The front door opened and closed, leaving me alone in the gathering darkness. I stood there, my world imploding silently around me, and realized with sudden clarity that the woman who had just walked away, the woman I had built my life around, was a stranger to me. I didn't follow Heather inside, couldn't. The walls of our home, with its carefully chosen furniture and framed vacation photos, suddenly felt like a museum dedicated to a life that never really existed. Instead, I found myself driving aimlessly, muscle memory eventually guiding me to Ali's, an unassuming bar downtown where the lighting was dim enough to hide red eyes and the bartenders didn't ask questions. "Bourbon neat," I told the balding man behind the counter. He nodded, pouring a generous measure without comment. I was halfway through my second drink when a voice broke through my thoughts. Either someone died or someone lied. I turned to find a woman sliding onto the stool beside mine. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, an auburn bob cut with no nonsense to it. She wasn't smiling exactly, but there was something knowing in her expression. "What makes you say that?" I asked. She shrugged, signaling the bartender. 20 years in family law. I recognize the look. "You're a lawyer. Divorce attorney." She extended her hand. "Rebecca Mitchell." I shook it automatically. "Tyler Brennan." "So, which is it, Tyler Brennan? Death or deceit?" I took another sip of bourbon, feeling it burn a path down my throat. "Deceit." Rebecca nodded, thanking the bartender for her martini. "Wife or husband?" "Wife." "Let me guess. You caught her." She denied it. "Then when denial didn't work, she blamed you." I stared at her, the bourbon glass frozen halfway to my lips. "How did you?" "Like I said, 20 years of practice." She took a deliberate sip of her martini. "And let me guess again, she made you feel like you were crazy for suspecting her. Like you were the problem." The accuracy of her assessment made my chest tight. It was a text message. From a guy named Dominic. Explicit. I swallowed hard. When I confronted her, she laughed at me. Called me insecure. Rebecca's mouth tightened. Classic gaslighting. Make you doubt what you see with your own eyes. She studied me over the rim of her glass. "And I'm betting this isn't the first time, is it? Just the first time you caught her red-handed." I thought back to other moments. Odd phone calls, unexplained absences, defensiveness over simple questions. How many times had Heather made me feel unreasonable for asking where she'd been? "You think she's done this before?" Rebecca didn't answer directly. Instead she asked, "What are you going to do now?" The question hung between us, heavy with implications. What was I going to do? Go home, pretend it never happened, try to work through it, while Heather continued seeing Dominic behind my back? "I don't know," I admitted. "Yes, you do." Rebecca's voice was gentle but firm. "You just haven't accepted it yet." She was right. Deep down, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I just wasn't sure I had the strength to do it. "People like your wife," Rebecca continued. "They don't cheat because something's missing. They cheat because they think they can get away with it." Her words hit me like a physical blow, crystallizing something I hadn't been able to articulate. Heather wasn't sorry. She was sorry she got caught. "I need proof," I heard myself say. "More than just messages." Rebecca nodded slowly, understanding in her eyes. "That's where it always starts." I left Elise with Rebecca's business card in my pocket and a plan forming in my mind. Not a good plan, perhaps. Certainly not an honorable one. But then honor seemed like a luxury I could no longer afford. I drove to my friend Mike's place, calling him from the driveway. It was late, but he answered on the second ring. "Tyler, everything okay?" "No," I said simply. "Can I crash on your couch tonight?" Soon after, we were sitting in his kitchen. Mike listened silently as I laid out the evening's events, his expression darkening with each detail. "That's messed up, man," he said when I finished. "What are you going to do?" "I need to know everything," I replied. "How long this has been going on? If Dominic is the only one." Mike leaned back, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "You think there are others?" The question hit me like a punch to the gut. Until that moment, I hadn't considered the possibility. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I need to find out." Mike was quiet for a moment, then said, "You remember Jake Cullen from college? Works in digital security now. Electronic forensics, something like that." I vaguely recalled the lanky guy with glasses who'd always been surrounded by computer equipment. "You still in touch?" Mike nodded. "He owes me a favor. Big one. I met Jake at a nondescript coffee shop downtown not long after. He looked older, more polished, but still had that intense focus I remembered from college. Mike filled me in," he said, sliding into the booth across from me. "Sorry about your situation." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. "Here's what I can do," Jake continued, all business. "If you have access to her accounts, email, social media, cloud storage, I can help you extract and analyze the data. Text messages too, if you can get her phone." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Not exactly conventional. But neither is cheating on your spouse." "Is it legal?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I cared anymore. Jake's expression was measured. "You're married. You share devices, accounts, a home. Gray area at worst." That was enough for me. "What do you need?" "Passwords if you have them. Access to devices. And you need to be prepared for what we might find." His eyes held mine. "Some things you can't unknow, Tyler." I thought about Heather's dismissive laugh in our driveway, the cold calculation in her eyes as she called me insecure. "I already can't unknow what I saw," I said. "At least this way I'll have the full picture." Jake nodded. "One more thing, don't let her know you're suspicious. Normal. If she realizes you're investigating, she'll delete evidence." The thought of going home, pretending everything was fine while Heather continued to lie to my face, made my stomach turn, but I understood the necessity. "I'll text her," I decided. "Say I stayed at Mike's after having too many drinks. That I need time to cool off." "Good," Jake approved. "Buys us some time while I set things up." As I drove back to Mike's, a strange calm settled over me. The pain and shock were still there, but now channeled into purpose. Heather thought she was the clever one, that I was too trusting, too naive to see through her deception. She was about to learn how wrong she was. Jake worked faster than I expected. Not long after our coffee shop meeting, he called me over to his home office, a converted garage filled with monitors, servers, and equipment I couldn't begin to identify. "You better sit down," he said, gesturing to a chair beside his workstation. I'd been staying at Mike's, telling Heather I needed space to process. She'd alternated between angry texts accusing me of overreacting and sweet messages reminiscing about our early days together. Classic manipulation that might have worked before, but now just strengthened my resolve. "How bad is it?" I asked, bracing myself. Jake's expression was grim. "Worse than you thought." He turned one of his monitors toward me. "Dominic isn't the only one." On screen was a spreadsheet with meticulous detail. Names, dates, locations, message excerpts, 3 columns of data, each with a different man's name at the top. "Dominic. Jason. 3. My voice sounded strange, distant. "That I can confirm," Jake nodded. "All ongoing, overlapping relationships. Been going on for over a year, based on the earliest communications I found. Over a year of deception, of coming home to me after being with them, of lying to my face day after day. The patterns are consistent," Jake continued, professional despite the personal nature of what he was showing me. "Hotel meetings during work events, extended lunch breaks, weekend seminars that don't exist." He clicked to another screen, a calendar view with color-coded entries. "Blue is Dominic, usually midweek. Green is Scott, mainly end of week. Red is Jason, more sporadic, but typically when you travel for work." I stared at the evidence of my wife's betrayal laid out in cold, clinical detail. The systematic nature of it was almost impressive, if it wasn't so devastating. "There's more," Jake said quietly. "Texts, email exchanges, some explicit photos." "Show me," I said, my voice hardening. "Tyler, man, you don't need to." Jake hesitated, then opened another folder. I forced myself to look at everything. Every message, every image, every lie. I needed to see it all, to burn it into my memory so there would be no wavering, no moment of weakness where I might convince myself it wasn't as bad as I thought. It was worse. She has them on rotation, I said finally, a strange calm settling over me like a schedule. Jake nodded uncomfortably. Looks that way. And they don't seem to know about each other. That detail caught my attention. They don't know. Not based on the communications. She's been careful to keep them separate. Something shifted inside me then, anger crystallizing into resolve. Heather had constructed an elaborate web of deception, managing multiple affairs with the precision of a project manager. She made me the fool in my own marriage while maintaining her image as the perfect wife. I want it all, I told Jake. Every text, every email, every picture. Organized by person, by date. Everything. Jake studied me, concern evident in his expression. What are you planning, Tyler? I thought of Heather's dismissive laugh when I confronted her, the ease with which she'd tried to make me doubt what I'd seen with my own eyes. Justice, I said simply. I'm planning justice. As I drove back to Mike's place, clutching a flash drive containing irrefutable proof of my wife's betrayal, a plan began forming in my mind. Heather thought she was clever, that she was in control. She was about to learn how wrong she was. For the first time since seeing that message on her phone, I smiled. Not with joy, with determination. I didn't return home immediately. I couldn't face Heather yet, not until my plan was fully formed. Instead, I holed up at Mike's a while longer, poring over the evidence Jake had compiled. You're starting to scare me, Mike commented, watching me organize files on my laptop. You've barely slept. I'll sleep when this is over, I muttered, not looking up. The truth was, I never felt more awake, more focused. The shock and pain had hardened into something else. A cold, clear determination that kept me going when exhaustion threatened to overtake me. Rebecca, the divorce attorney from the bar, had become part of my inner circle. When I called her with what Jake had found, she agreed to meet with us immediately. This is comprehensive, she said, reviewing the files in Mike's living room. Most spouses don't have half this much evidence. What are my options? Asked. Rebecca leaned back. Legally, with this evidence and Oregon's infidelity clause, you're entitled to a favorable divorce settlement. But I'm guessing that's not all you're asking. She was right. A favorable settlement wasn't enough. Not for the systematic humiliation Heather had subjected me to. I want her to lose everything, I said, my voice steady. Not just money. Her dignity. Her control. The careful image she's built. Mike shifted uncomfortably in his chair. But Rebecca didn't flinch. Then you need to dismantle her support system, she said matter-of-factly. These men, they're part of it, whether they know it or not. They don't know about each other, I clarified. Jake confirmed it. A slow smile spread across Rebecca's face. That's your leverage. The plan came together quickly. Rebecca drafted divorce papers, citing infidelity with multiple named parties. Jake compiled dossiers on each of Heather's lovers. Dominic, a sales executive at a rival company. Scott, her yoga instructor. Jason, our neighbor's younger brother who'd moved to town recently. None of them know they're sharing her, I confirmed, reviewing the information. Each thinks he's the only one. That changes soon, Rebecca said grimly. I finally texted Heather saying I was ready to talk, that I'd be home the next evening. She responded immediately with a string of relieved messages, claiming she missed me, that we could work through this misunderstanding. What she didn't know was that, an hour and a half before I arrived, each of her lovers would receive an identical email from an anonymous account containing proof of Heather's other relationships, along with an invitation to come to our house that same evening to discuss the situation. Meanwhile, I had one more call to make. Heather's parents had always adored me, believed wholeheartedly in our marriage. They deserved to know the truth, not a sanitized version Heather would inevitably craft. This feels extreme, Mike said as I prepared to call my in-laws. Is it? Countered. More extreme than carrying on 3 separate affairs for over a year. more extreme than laughing in my face when I caught her. Mike held up his hands in surrender. I'm not judging, man. Just be careful. There's no coming back from this. I don't want to come back, I said, realizing as I spoke that it was absolutely true. I want to burn it all down and walk away. The call with Heather's parents was predictably difficult. Her mother cried. Her father, a retired judge with an uncompromising sense of right and wrong, asked detailed questions, his voice growing colder with each answer I provided. We'll be there, he said finally. As I hung up, a strange calm settled over me. Soon Heather's carefully constructed house of cards would collapse spectacularly. The thought should have brought me satisfaction, but instead I felt only a grim resolve, and beneath it, a hollow ache for the life I had believed in so completely. Get some sleep, Rebecca advised, gathering her things. It will be intense. I nodded, knowing sleep would be impossible. How could I rest when the coming day would be the one I finally reclaimed control of my shattered life? The day arrived with a strange, electric anticipation. I spent the morning at Mike's apartment reviewing the plan one final time with Rebecca and Jake. Remember, Rebecca cautioned, stay calm no matter what she does. The moment you lose your composure, you lose control of the situation. I nodded, tucking the flash drive containing all the evidence into my pocket. I won't lose control. Not this time. That evening I pulled into our driveway. The house looked exactly as I'd left it, a monument to the life I thought we shared. Inside I could see lights on, movement in the kitchen. Heather preparing for my return. I took a deep breath and stepped out of the car. She was waiting in the entryway when I opened the door. Her face a perfect mask of concerned affection. Tyler, she said, stepping forward to embrace me. I'm so glad you're home. I sidestepped her hug, watching her expression flicker with annoyance before settling back into practiced concern. We need to talk, I said. Of course, she agreed, gesturing toward the living room. I made your favorite dinner. I thought we could. I know everything, Heather. She paused, confusion crossing her features. What do you mean? Dominic. Jason. I enunciated each name clearly, watching her face. All of them. For over a year. The shock in her eyes was genuine but brief, quickly replaced by calculation. She opened her mouth, no doubt to launch into denials, but the doorbell interrupted her. That would be your parents, I said calmly. My parents? Real panic flashed across her face. Why are they? I invited them. They deserve to know why their son-in-law is filing for divorce. Her face hardened. You had no right. Actually, I had every right. I moved past her to open the door. Heather's parents stood on the porch, their faces grim. Her father, Judge Robert Wilson, looked at me with a mixture of disappointment and resignation. Her mother, Eleanor, couldn't meet my eyes. Come in, I said. Heather was just about to explain why she's been sleeping with 3 different men behind my back. Eleanor let out a small gasp. Robert simply nodded, as if having his worst fears confirmed. Heather stood frozen in the hallway, her careful facade crumbling as her parents entered. For perhaps the first time in our marriage, she seemed genuinely at a loss for words. What is this? She finally managed, her voice tight with anger. Some kind of intervention. No, I replied evenly. It's the truth. Something you've never been particularly familiar with. The doorbell rang again. Heather's eyes darted to the door in confusion. And that, I continued, would be Dominic. Or Scott. Or Jason. I invited them too. All color drained from Heather's face as understanding dawned. You didn't, she whispered. I smiled without humor. I did. And now we're all going to have a nice, honest conversation about exactly who you are. What followed was chaos. Dominic arrived first, his confident swagger faltering when he saw Heather's parents. Scott and Jason arrived within minutes of each other, creating a tableau of confusion in our living room as each man gradually realized he wasn't the only one who'd received an invitation. What is this? Dominic demanded, looking from me to Heather. Sit down, I said calmly, gesturing to the sofa. All of you. Remarkably, they complied. 3 men who'd been sleeping with my wife now taking direction from me. Heather remained standing, her eyes darting between her lovers and her parents, panic rising visibly with each passing second. Tyler, please, she finally said, her voice hitching. We can talk about this privately. Like you talk privately with Dominic. Countered. Or Scott. Or Jason. The 3 men exchanged glances, comprehension slowly dawning. You know each other? Scott asked, looking between Dominic and Jason. No, Jason replied slowly. We've never met. I turned to the large TV on the wall and connected my laptop. The spreadsheet Jake had created appeared on screen. Dates, times, locations, color-coded by lover. More than a year of deception laid bare in clinical detail. For over a year, I explained to the stunned room, my wife has been maintaining relationships with all 3 of you, simultaneously, on a rotation. Heather's mother made a small distressed sound. Her father's face had turned to stone. This is insane, Heather snapped, finding her voice. You're violating my privacy, humiliating me. I laughed, the sound harsh even in my own ears. That's rich, coming from the woman who's been lying to everyone in this room. I clicked to the next screen. Text messages between Heather and Dominic discussing their regular routine. Look familiar? Asked Dominic. His face darkened. You said your husband was clueless, he said to Heather. He was, she blurted, then immediately realized her mistake. I continued through the evidence methodically, showing each man what Heather had said about him to the others, revealing how she coordinated their meetings to never overlap, how she'd used the same hotel room with different men on different days. The most damning were messages about me. Mocking, contemptuous texts about her boring husband who suspected nothing. With each revelation, the atmosphere in the room grew heavier, charged with anger and betrayal. Judge Wilson finally broke his silence. Heather, he said, his judicial voice cutting through the tension. Is this true? All of it? For a moment, I thought she might still try to deny it. But faced with irrefutable evidence and 5 betrayed faces, something in Heather finally cracked. Fine, she shouted. Yes, it's all true. I was bored. Is that what you want to hear? That perfect, dependable Tyler wasn't enough. That I needed more. Her confession hung in the air, brutal in its honesty. Well, congratulations, she continued, turning to me with venom. You've ruined everything. Are you happy now? I looked at my wife, this stranger I'd shared a bed with for 15 years, and felt a surprising sense of calm. No, Heather, I said quietly. I'm not happy. But for the first time in a long time I'm free. I handed her an envelope containing the divorce papers Rebecca had prepared. We're done, I said simply. And unlike you, I only needed to say it once. The hours that followed unfolded like scenes from a movie I was watching rather than living. One by one, Heather's lovers left. Dominic with a string of curses. Scott with an awkward apology directed at me. Jason with silent fury. Heather's parents stayed longer, her father speaking to me privately in the kitchen. I always thought of you as a son, Judge Wilson said, his voice heavy with disappointment. Not in me, but in the situation in his daughter. Whatever happens next, you'll always be family to us. The gesture nearly broke me. I'd been running on anger and determination for days, but his simple kindness cracked my armor. After they left, Heather and I faced each other across our living room. The house felt cavernous, filled with the ghosts of what we had once been to each other. You've destroyed everything, she said, her voice dull. Humiliated me in front of everyone I care about. No, Heather, I replied, fatigue weighing down each word. You did that yourself. So righteous, she sneered, a flash of the old defensive anger returning. So perfect. Tell me, did it feel good getting your revenge? I considered her question seriously. Did it feel good? The confrontation had brought no joy, no satisfaction, only a hollow vindication. It wasn't about feeling good, I finally answered. It was about the truth. Everyone deserved to know who they were really dealing with. She laughed bitterly. The truth. As if you've never lied. Not like this, I said quietly. Never like this. Heather's shoulders slumped, the fight visibly draining from her. For a brief moment, I caught a glimpse of something authentic. Regret, perhaps, or simply exhaustion. What happens now? She asked. You have time to remove your personal belongings, I said, repeating the terms Rebecca had outlined. The divorce will proceed with or without your cooperation. The prenup is clear on infidelity. And that's it. 15 years over just like that. The question staggered me with its audacity, as if I had ended things just like that, rather than her systematic betrayal spanning more than a year. It was over the moment you decided I wasn't enough, I told her. You just didn't bother to tell me. I turned and walked upstairs to the guest bedroom, where I'd be sleeping until she left. Behind me, I heard what might have been a sob, but I didn't look back. For the first time since discovering her betrayal, I felt nothing for Heather. Not anger, not love, not even hate. Just a profound emptiness that someday I hoped would be filled with something better. The months that followed passed like a strange dream. The divorce proceeded swiftly, thanks to Rebecca's expertise and the overwhelming evidence of Heather's infidelity. The prenuptial agreement I'd almost forgotten about proved invaluable, protecting my assets and the house I'd largely paid for. Heather didn't fight the terms. Whatever defiance had fueled her that night of confrontation seemed to have burned out, leaving behind a woman I barely recognized, subdued, almost meek, during our brief interactions through lawyers. I heard through mutual friends that she'd left Portland, moving to Seattle for a fresh start. None of her lovers went with her. Mike insisted on throwing me a dinner once the divorce papers were signed. Rebecca came too, no longer as my attorney, but as a friend who'd guided me through the darkest period of my life. To freedom, Mike toasted, raising his glass. To truth, Rebecca added. To whatever comes next, I finished, surprised if I meant it. After dinner, Rebecca and I walked along the waterfront, the air carrying the promise of renewal. Any regrets? She asked. About how you handled things. I considered the question carefully. No, I answered finally. The truth needed to come out. Not just for me but for everyone involved. Her parents, those men who didn't know they were being manipulated. Sometimes healing can only start after everything's been exposed to light. Rebecca nodded, understanding in her eyes. And now, what's next for Tyler Brennan? Honestly, I don't know. I smiled, the expression feeling more natural than it had in months. That's the exciting part. Not long after I sold the house. Too many memories haunted those rooms. Both the good ones that now felt tainted, and the bad ones that still kept me awake some nights. The new place was smaller, closer to downtown, a fresh space for a fresh start. Judge Wilson called on the day I moved in. He and Eleanor had maintained contact, defying Heather's attempts to turn them against me. Their loyalty was an unexpected gift in the aftermath of destruction. We're in town soon, he said. Eleanor is insisting on bringing you a housewarming gift. I'd like that, I told him, meaning it as I unpacked boxes in my new living room that evening. I found the old photo albums I'd almost left behind. Years of memories with a woman who had turned out to be a stranger. I considered throwing them away, but decided against it. Those years had happened. They were part of my story, even if the ending wasn't what I'd expected. Instead, I placed them on a high shelf, acknowledgement rather than shrine. Then I opened my laptop and began researching photography classes, something I'd always wanted to explore but had never made time for. The future stretched before me, unburdened by deception, rich with possibility. For the first time in a very long time I was truly free.